Every once in a while, African football produces a name that carries both promise and pain, glory and heartbreak. For Kenya, that name was George Blackberry Odhiambo. His story is not just about football. It is about dreams, resilience, and the spirit of a boy who dared to believe. This is the story of George Odhiambo, the boy from Kisumu who made a nation dream.
George was born in Kisumu, on the shores of Lake Victoria. Life here was beautiful but difficult. Poverty shaped his childhood, and survival was never guaranteed. Yet George had something rare, a ball at his feet and a fire in his heart. He played barefoot on dusty pitches, using makeshift balls, and each dribble was more than just play. It was hope. When the sun set on Kisumu, other kids went home to rest. George stayed behind, chasing the ball, practicing every move. The streets were his training ground, and his determination was his greatest weapon. Even before anyone recognized his name, George was preparing to change Kenyan football forever.
George's gift could not be hidden. Scouts spotted his magic, and soon the barefoot boy from Kisumu was wearing the green jersey of Gor Mahia. At Gor Mahia, he wasn't just another youngster. He was a spark, a player who could change games in an instant. His pace terrified defenders. His dribbling left stadiums gasping. His confidence electrified fans. In 2010, George Blackberry Odhiambo was crowned Kenya Premier League Player of the Year. A teenager standing above seasoned veterans, ruling the league with flair and fire. For Gor Mahia fans, Blackberry wasn't just a player, he was hope. He made them believe they could rise again to their glory days. The chants of Blackberry, Blackberry echoed across stadiums, proof that Kenya had found its new star.
2010 was not just George's year, it was Kenya's year. That season, George was listed among CAF's most promising young African players. His name was placed alongside future global stars. For a boy from Kisumu, this was history. He was not just making headlines in Kenya. Africa was watching. Scouts whispered his name. Journalists hailed him as the future of Kenyan football. Then came the call he had always dreamed of, a move to Europe. In 2011, George signed for Randers FC in Denmark. For the first time, a boy who once played barefoot in Kisumu would now play under the bright lights of European stadiums. The dream had come true. Kenya celebrated. The continent watched. The boy had become Africa's rising star.
But dreams are fragile. In Denmark, George found a different world. The cold weather, the new culture, the foreign language, all weighed heavily on him. On the pitch, things grew harder. Opportunities were scarce. Coaches did not see the same magic that Gor Mahia fans had witnessed. Soon, frustration set in. George moved again, this time to Armenia, then Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia. But none of these moves gave him the stability he once had. Injuries came, form dipped, confidence wavered. For fans, it felt like watching a flame that once burned so bright slowly fade. The boy who was supposed to be Kenya's answer to Africa's football giants was struggling to find his place. But George never quit. Even when contracts ended, even when people doubted him, he kept stepping onto the pitch. Because for him, football was not just a career, it was life.
George may not have conquered Europe, but his name will never be forgotten. For Gor Mahia, he is a legend. For Kenya, he is a reminder of the talent hidden in our streets and villages. For Africa, his story is a lesson. The line between glory and struggle is thin, and not every star gets the chance to shine forever. But George gave something greater than trophies. He gave hope. He showed young Kenyan players that from dusty streets you can rise to international recognition. His stories etched in the hearts of fans. When Gor Mahia fans sing, when young boys in Kisumu dribble on dusty fields, the spirit of George Blackberry Odhiambo lives on.
What made George special was never just his dribbling, speed, or goals. It was his fearlessness. At 18, he carried a club, a league, and a nation's hope. He played with a smile, with courage, and with a joy that made fans fall in love with the game again. Even in struggle, George never gave up. That resilience, that spirit, that is what makes him unique.
George Blackberry Odhiambo's story is not one of failure. It is a story of courage, a story of dreams, a story of resilience. From barefoot boy in Kisumu to Africa's rising star to the challenges of global football, George's journey reminds us that chasing dreams is never easy, but it is always worth it. He will forever be remembered as the boy who made Kenya believe in greatness. And as the final whistle blows on this story, one truth remains. George Blackberry Odhiambo will always be remembered not for what he lost, but for the hope he gave a nation. His journey reminds us that dreams are fragile, but they are also powerful enough to inspire generations. From barefoot pitches in Kisumu to carrying the pride of a nation, Blackberry's legacy will forever live in the hearts of Kenyan football fans. Because legends are not only measured by trophies or fame. Sometimes, legends are born in the courage to dream, to fight, and to keep playing even when the world turns away. George Blackberry Odhiambo, the boy who made Kenya dream.
Don't forget to subscribe if you love football stories that inspire.